Elizabeth first, as she had something she wanted to say. She just told her. Thank you.
The steering committee wants to go on with some of the distinctions from Do You Quantum Think next year. And Lynn called me the other day and said, would you help me share the first presentation? And I said, sure, but I love this stuff. And what would you like me to take up? And he said, well, how about the one called Being in One Conversation? Well, isn't that interesting? Since being in one conversation is my passion, and I've tooted my horn about it a lot in here. This is so exactly about what this circle is about that I just want to share it with you as a partly to celebrate the good weaving that takes us from the dialogues into the next year, and to go on with our quantum think in a nice way. And partly because it is so about what we're doing here. And follow along with me doing this. Now is a perfect time to sit back. Relax. Take a deep breath. Why not? Let your shoulders drop naturally as you sit softly upright and breathe in slowly. Exhale gently and just be aware that of your breath continually moving in and out in rhythm. In this way, easy and natural way, we bring our awareness to a single focus. To begin the practice of being in one conversation, allow yourself to focus only in this conversation. When other people are speaking, just be with what is being said. Remember, you are co-participating in this dialogue, which is really a dialogue of the one consciousness in the one conversation that belongs to both, to all of us. If your own thoughts try to sneak into the conversation, just notice that and let them slip away as you refocus yourself on what is being said by the other people. You will know when it is your time to speak, and you will naturally build on that conversation. Your experience is as a co-creator. Practice your own mastery at staying present by being in one conversation.
Yum.
Thank you. Thank you for those beautiful thoughts. And before we go any further, I would like to invite Mike Two Bears to say an opening prayer for the group. I'll say a closing prayer today.
Well, this is a good time to sit back, relax, take a deep breath. You can read it again. But on a prayer, and I love to pray, I love to connect with the divine, but I asked all of you here to connect with your divine. What is that to you? What is it greater than yourself? Any name you want to use, and I'll use what I use, but some of us were here Friday. feel like a couple of years ago now, but recently, and we were talking about this morning what a blessing it was to sit and be saturated in the divine. And we can do that. We can bring it in ourselves. It's always available to us. We just have to go there. We have to sit back, relax, and pay attention. So, Creator, Great Spirit, Great Mystery, all these names of God, all these names of the divine, I ask you to come in and bless us. Bless all of us as we sit here. We're here to listen, as we were so eloquently told there. The words that come out, we ask that you provide, Spirit provide, our guidance, so that we are blessed by the Spirit coming in. When we were in the Seed Institute, Glenn would always say, Creator, Spirit works through the circle. And you have to let go of that me. You have to let go of that. So Creator, come in. This energy is joined when we build together like this. All of us are participating. All of us are adding to it. We're very blessed to be here. This cool day, beautiful day, Creator. Thank you for that. I want to ask for special blessings for Betsy, for that beautiful prayer, and for Glenn for what he's doing. This is such an opportunity, Creator, so that we can extend ourselves out into the world. Extend to those that are having issues. And we ask that people have sufficient food, that they have warmth. And so I ask for your blessing, Creator.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Well, we're already off to a very good start. Hey, thank you all for coming here. This is a very important time, and I appreciate that you recognize that, and you showed up, and you're here, and we're going to do something special together. I want to say a few more words about dialogue, and then I'll throw out the kickstart questions. So, now some of you have heard this in the last two times, but if you have, that'll be a review for you, and if you haven't, listen carefully. Dialogue has so many meanings. It could be just what they say if you open up a screenplay, and the words that are spoken could be said to be the dialogue. It's often misunderstood to be a conversation between two people. It doesn't have that etymology. Its etymology is from the Greek dia, meaning through, and the log or logos, meaning the word or meaning. If you're a scientist, your God may be energy. If you're a linguist, your God may be meaning. Here we're merging the two. So we have an opening to the east. We ask for Spirit to come through, as Mike and Elizabeth were talking about, to come through us. And that's a beautiful thing. So in dialogue, I want to ask you as much as possible to set aside your own tacit infrastructure, what David Bohm referred to as tacit infrastructure, your set of beliefs, assumptions, prejudices, maybe where you were born, maybe how you were raised, maybe what education you had, if you have titles, degrees, things like that. That really doesn't matter here. We're not going to call on anybody and say doctor someone, or that. Everybody is connected to Spirit, and everybody is welcome. All thoughts are welcome. That's the true meaning of consensus, and the actual origin of dialogue is really talking around a fire and allowing everyone to be heard. That's where some of the magic comes in. One difference between the way that we'll do this dialogue and the way that David Bohm did a dialogue is, for Bohm, people met on a regular basis. They met for, we're kind of meeting on a regular basis here. We met 3 times in a row, but they would have ongoing meetings, and there would be no kickstart question, because it was believed that if there was enough of a microcosm of society at the table or at the dialogue circle, that whatever needed to come up would come up. Here we've announced a theme, and that's what kind of drew people in, and I'll ask a kickstart question consistent with that theme, as we've been doing, you know. So it's been a beautiful series, so thank you so much. Our theme is surviving the apocalypse. Okay. And I think I put on the paper, you know, how are we going to survive or even thrive during this apocalypse? Well, the first thing that's already come out in previous dialogues, guess we knew we were getting there, but the true meaning of apocalypse is really not necessarily annihilation. Its original meaning is a revelation or an unveiling. So the apocalypse is an opportunity to see what is really going on. What is really going on. Now, there's another thing, another theme kind of related to that. We talk about being in a crisis. And very famously, John F. Kennedy looked at 2 Chinese characters, and actually, according to my wife, who knows because she's born in Japan, kind of misinterpreted it, but still, he looked at 2 Chinese characters and for crises, and he decided that one meant danger, one meant opportunity. Something I've heard a lot. It made its way into the culture. Actually, neither of the kanjis means, the first kanji doesn't mean danger, the second one doesn't mean opportunity. If you put the second one with a third kanji, it could mean opportunity. If you put the first one with another character, it could mean danger. But they don't really mean that. They mean crisis. They mean crisis together. Okay, so now the second kanji can be interpreted, however, as the incipient moment in which things began to change. The incipient moment in which things began to change. So, that could be an opportunity. Could be. It isn't necessarily. But it's when things begin to change. So I want you to hold these thoughts together. The apocalypse is an unveiling or a revelation. It gives us an opportunity to see what really is happening. And we are in a crisis. We're also in a moment when things are going to begin to change. So is that an opportunity? Or is that a danger? You know, you have to decide. You have to decide. So we've been meeting for 3 months, and during that 3 months, we were in the heat of the political debates and battle. Now that's been decided. Some people are doing recounts, but reminds me, you know, Donald Trump even complained that the voting may have been rigged, so that reminded me of what William F. Buckley said in the 1965 mayoral election in New York City. You know, William Buckley ran because he wanted to give a little juice to the conservative movement, because Goldwater had just got, you know, got his butt kicked, in 1964 by Lyndon Johnson. So he ran, but he didn't expect to win. And somebody asked him, "What happens if you win?" And he said, "I'll demand a recount." It's just, that is really it. Okay, so I'm going to put out the first question. It's a very straightforward question, and just since the last time you were here, since the election, since November 8th, what has been revealed about our country? And then what is the danger and what is the opportunity, if you see one? I'm going to go around.
Well, looking back on the election day and every day since, it seems to me that all the media and also most of the people I know are talking about what has been revealed by this election. That's what the people are, that's the question. I thought today, as I was coming over it, that really, mostly when people are talking about what has been revealed, there are people who think they're on one side and they're looking at the people on the other side that did this. It's rarely a person from the side, in this case the winning side, who wonders what's being revealed. And I was thinking today, sort of going over in my mind some of the things that have really upset me about what has happened since. And I decided that really I had to look inside myself to find out what has been revealed, rather than looking outside. And unfortunately, I still am only at that point where I'm asking the question of myself, but I do realize that it's in there somewhere. I'm just not quite able to speak of it right now, so I'm going to pass on the stick.
Thank you.
They're seeing that there is a possibility for change, but the idea of change is terrifying. I think there's a danger of people hurting one another, but then the opportunity in that is that we get to learn the truth of what people are feeling, whereas before it might be hidden behind social norms and expectations of how they're supposed to act. For myself, I'm hoping that there will be positive change, and that people will be able to work out some things in themselves that they wouldn't have been able to if things had stayed the same.
Well, this is quite a question, anyway, the politics, if you put those aside and you look at the big picture, I think a lot of people don't see the big picture then. And this election kind of has revealed that to me. And there's a new book out that I haven't read yet, but he has, this is a person that writes for the New York Times or something. And he has 3 things that he's talking about, and they're things that are accelerating exponentially. One is global warming's gone like this. And then the other one is technology is incredible how fast it's growing every year, just doubling and doubling. That's going exponentially. And then the other thing is, of course, population is growing this way. And one of these days, you know, these things are going to interfere with each other and cause a crisis. And to me, that's the what do you call it, apocalypse? Yeah. Anyway, you know, English is not my native language, so I know a lot of these fancy words I don't know. But anyway, that's why I came to the meetings, because I wanted to find out more about this crisis that we might be facing in the next couple of years.
Thank you. And before the next speaker begins, just wanted to remind people that in dialogue, silence is golden. So the most important thing is listening. So even if you're the next speaker, you ought to be just listening until that staff is handed to you. And then you can take your time to collect your thoughts. We want to call them your thoughts, thoughts that are coming to you. And it's also acceptable to pass to. Nobody has to speak, but we are going in the, so okay, go ahead. Thank you. All right.
So I really appreciate, Linda, you opening up that sense of what's being revealed in us, because what I discovered within myself, which was, I didn't like seeing it, is fear. And all through the campaign season, I was pointing fingers at Trump is fear-based, and the Trump supporters are fear-based, and I'm love-based. And so what became revealed to me was how much fear I have for the planet, for the earth, and for humanity, and our culture here in the United States. And then I also saw it being revealed not just within myself, but within my community of other spiritual, love-based people. I've seen incredible, incredible amounts of fear and hatred. And I can also admit that I have felt hatred towards Donald Trump and the Trump supporters, who I don't even exactly know who they are. It's just this amorphous, like, sense of this group that is my enemy. And I got really, really whacked out, really thrown into a lot of fear. And I'm just feel like I'm coming back to some kind of spiritual center and balance. But I feel like it was really important to own that fear, to see it and acknowledge that the fear isn't just out there and those other bad people out there. And that I too can be filled with hate. And that the fear and the hate are very much intertwined.
Thank you.
I don't involve myself too much in the details of the political arena. I just watch people and what's going on, and a lot is being revealed right now that has been hidden. That's part of what's going on. And I would say the danger here is fear. And the opportunity is to be co-creative and to see what do we choose and work with that. What do we choose? How can we bring that out in the world? Fear just creates upon itself. What if we choose something different and work from that?
Where I am now is I've been learning so much in reading things and observing dialogue about many things, including who are we as a country?
Mhm.
Where have we come since we formed? How has our past, including the sort of rape and pillaging of the Native Americans, which happened before we were a country, and slavery, those are the two big things I think have roots that affect us to this day. And I'm feeling and thinking that, the politics is sort of like the sideshow, and that what's really occurring is our choice between money and love. And I don't see them as mutually exclusive. But I think the direction we've taken and the globe has taken, maybe from our direction, maybe from the Western direction, is we feel that they have to be competing. And the hope that I see and the excitement I feel is that the fear and the pain and the control that's being stoked and being revealed is being met with love and connection and humanity. And my feeling is that there's an alchemy that's occurring where we will find our way into a new paradigm, something that maybe we can't even imagine. And I'm also feeling this, I've had to really look at myself and say, gosh, I am part of this liberal elite, and here's my background, and here are my judgments, and I thought I was open-minded, and, so many of these articles I'm reading which are helping to sort of explain maybe things people hadn't seen, rural versus urban, economics, the disenfranchised. It's like I feel like my soul or our souls want to be like integrated again, that we all have pieces of all of this within us. And that there's this new way that is possible. And I don't know that anyone on any side, including the liberal elite, which I mostly have paid attention to, have figured it out. And I want to stop. I really want to sit in myself and with others who are willing to allow something new to come through. Like you said originally, Glenn, like let's put aside who we think we are, where we come from, how we frame ourselves and our beliefs, and allow for that mystery. So that's what I think the opportunity is.
Beautiful, beautiful thoughts.
I think we've been in apocalyptic times for a long time, but we're slow learners. I was going back to World War I, but then I was sitting here thinking of Civil War. And then listening to that, when I think back, book 1491, what we've done with indigenous people around the world. I think that all these thoughts coming together about movement into something, it's being crystallized, it's being called forward by the situation in our politics. And we have a choice. What do we want to follow? Do we want to follow the fear? I'm normally very apolitical, but this year on that first Taos Democratic presidential debate, I got sucked into that, and then I followed damn politics. It is attractive. The media built it. I think that there's another element going here. Traditionally, we've had print media and television, radio, and now we've got the internet and Twitter and all these things, and it's coming forward. It's giving us an opportunity to hear what's really going on. Standing Rock, you know, or President Trump, President-elect Trump. And we have to make our choices. I think people are hearing that. Everybody's thinking, do I want fear? Do I want love? It's kind of hard to choose fear. I mean, you know, but in reality, that's what's being promoted. So, oh.
No, thank you for the good thoughts. Thank you.
I think the political situation here reflects really what's happening on the global scale. And I think there's a major shakeup going on. And one of the issues is the white supremacy that's been prevalent. And in my experience, it's been really more of an uncertainty rather than fear. And uncertainty is something that, in America certainly, it hasn't been addressed, because really we've had a fairly stable government for many years, unlike other places in the world. I think this is an opportunity that's bound to actually make changes, because it's been really pretty much ignored for many, many years, the inequalities that exist. And I think that we have to think very deeply about these issues, and we have to kind of sit on them and avoid, you know, some of the media information or misinformation that is being promulgated by corporate media, and really sit with the questions, and then decide what we want to do on the individual level and also on the collective level, because we have many choices now to make that change happen. I just feel very optimistic about these times, because change is really a fact of life, and nothing stays forever. And if we unite in one purpose, to actually give equality to everyone in the world, not just the United States, then we can make a change.
Thank you. Good thoughts. Thank you.
Well, I'm pleased to be here, and I feel that deep community will be very helpful right now. To be with one another in deep community so that we're using all of ourselves together well. And so I'm really excited about this concept here today. And I come from Colorado, where I was very political myself about a single payer issue in Colorado, and went door to door and met people with a number of different views, and and it failed, that issue. But anyway, I had firsthand experience of some of the differences people have with regard to that issue. And I think what I'm experiencing is there's, like, look at all of us together today. There's a quickening. There's some kind of quickening of energy. And I'm hopeful about that and encouraged about that. And I also, the only other thought I had is that things are so, like, the way Trump is picking his cabinet is so bizarre. It's so black and white appearing that it makes me feel that this thing is just so energetically clear. It's clear somehow. So, but I see a quickening of community that I want to be part of.
Thank you.
One of the things that rises up for me in this period and thinking about the people who between the coasts. And it's fun to look at the map, you know. There's blue on the coasts and blue in Illinois and a blob of blue in northern New Mexico. And the rest of it is red. So northern New Mexico and that vortex around Taos. One of the things that I hear and I take very seriously, and George Lakoff, who wrote Don't Think of an Elephant, has a beautiful piece. I tried to prepare some copies to bring in my computer, my printer. But he's trying to help us understand that 90% of thinking is done unconsciously, and that decisions have been made at a neurological level, neuronal level, long before they're put in shape in the linear rational mind. And that values are at the fundamental here, which leads me to consider inclusion and how many statements there are from the people who went for Trump no matter what he said, because they felt included. The people in the middle, there is a profound feeling of that they, as expressed in their values, are not included in that dominant liberal elite. I didn't realize we'd gotten to be elite. That's their word for it. That's not how it looks to me. But my dear friend Marge, we've been friends for 50 years after a dancing summer in Tucson with Barbara Metler. We've been together since Thanksgiving now and having wonderful conversations. Thank you so much for being here. At the time of life that we're in, the subject of inclusion is really important. And I didn't realize it wasn't important, period, until I talked with somebody who was 35 years younger than me, who looked at me like, huh? So that's an interesting response. This is a very sensitive person. And the idea that inclusion is a fundamental, deep down values issue, belonging. And you know, it's at the root of a custom I've had here as part of my being part of the IANS community, of greeting people as you come in, so that everybody feels greeted and welcome, and yes, you do belong here. It seems important because in my situation now, I do have feelings about being included. So I understand where they're coming from, not being included. There's another side of this that I'd like to throw into the conversation. Some of us spent years with Charles Bush around a table over on the other side, working our way along with Ken Wilber's Stages of Consciousness. And it's very apparent to me from that work that the people that were talking about different places in the evolution of consciousness. And I have to look at myself in this, because I'm impatient. I have a hard time remembering what Wilber said, that every stage has its benefits. And that you can only move when you get ripe to move. And I keep wanting to say, come on, come on, come on, come on, grow up, get with it. Which is not helpful. Because the excitement of being part of IONS for all these years for me is that noetic science is on the frontier of where consciousness is going. And how do we help one another? That's why the Do Quantum Think is a really important part that we're going to keep going with a bit in the next year. The people who are, that element is there in the people who voted for Trump, is that they're back here somewhere in tribalism and other stages of the evolution of consciousness, and they can't help it. But my task is more understanding and patience and compassion, because I really do feel impatient about it. And the third piece I want to put on here is what happened to me over these 3 weeks is so much feeling for the preciousness and the fragility of democracy. And how many of the things that we have taken for granted, of tacit understandings about what keeps it together, that are not written in law books. They're written in codes of decency that we have understood, and now they're being ripped to shreds. And I am really affected by that. And I agree with everybody who said the thing to do with it brings me to tears. The things to do with what brings us to tears or fear or anger or hatred or my impatience is to get busy and do what we do. So I'm picking out the things that I can do. And many places I've seen people talking about the necessity for people to listen to each other, for people to be in conversation. And since this kind of creative conversation is my passion, that's my first thing I can contribute, is to support, and I hope you're coming back in the spring, my dear. We need you very passionately. But even if he couldn't, for us to have the practice of co-creative conversation in which we are really good at listening and really good at reading the vibrational field here. This is chamber music. And how do all these voices that have, how do they make the field of the one conversation? How do we make that together? That's my commitment.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. It's wonderful hearing. Yeah, I'm coming in, Blaine.
You're good.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a great incredible pleasure to be a part of this circle and this community and have this opportunity, because I think this is the resolution. There's no doubt about it, because I'm getting incredible energy through our Unity community to continue with this type of thing. Inclusion, separation, drove a lot of what I think happened, although I don't pay any attention to politics basically either. I don't watch debates or, and I was a conservative Republican living on the East Coast before I came here. So we're going back to that. But the energy that's coming through me, I just met with a couple people this morning who do improv. It's expanding and growing like crazy, which is similar to what we're doing here, bringing people out and to interact freely. Shadow work, whatever you want to call it, psychodrama. I love this opportunity, and these times are pushing it forward. For me, it's just coming through. And I love being older. Because it does give you that impatience of, wait, we gotta get this done. Let's move, baby. So, thank you all.
Thank you.
Could we make a circle?
Let's bring it a little back a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, make it a little more comfortable.
Thank you.
Yeah, and a little boardroom.
I apologize for being late. I didn't know this was happening
That's better.
today. And I thought it was, but I didn't. I tried to find it on the computer and I just decided to. There I am. Oh, God. Okay. Yeah, I was in it from the primaries, driving in my car, listening on the radio. So I've been following this election all along, and I've been following the election since the primaries. And I've not traditionally been that political, but for some reason this time I was very tuned into this whole process. So needless to say, the last 3 weeks have been quite something. And for me, so many things have been revealed. And I've been trying to, go with the feelings of it all. And I remember the first article I read that shook me out of my liberal stupor was this article that was written about rural America and urban America.
Mm-hmm.
And all these disenfranchised rural white America voters. And the difference between that and the city folks. And all of the things that the city has represented and that, for the first time I was reading this and I was thinking about the people that I didn't know very well, because I grew up on the East Coast and then moved to the West Coast, California, and this is the most inland I've ever been. Mm-hmm. So I've been in towns outside of cities, but very influenced by them. And so I got a real slap on the side of the head, like thinking, oh, whoa, you have not paid attention to the pain of these people that have lost their jobs through and bad like, wow, if Hillary had won, you would have just been feeling you're right on the right wave. You know what's going on, everything's fine, and we're really doing it. We're really, the vibration is going up, and we're all fine. And so I felt guilty. I felt bad, and then I felt like. Wait a minute here. You know, as the violence started to come out, as the terminology of the alt-right and the KKK going, you know, and all this imagery now, I started to think, no, I'm missing even more. I'm missing something else. I'm missing so much. And, you know, I remember in the Da Vinci Code, that whole thing of the rubric, I don't know what they call the Rubik's Cube, or that thing, you want to break the code. I want to break the code. And understand this, understand what I'm missing, understand what I'm not connected to. And that feels so, so other to me. And then I started to think, and not in not such kind terms about this part of America. And I started to think about privilege and entitlement that comes with power, that comes with, you know, I was reading the article about what defines these small communities is the family, the church, and the job. And when the job was gone, decimated by industry, then, you know, people were not making money, and so that started to fall apart. Then, you know, you've got your family and you've got your church. And that the city represents all these things that threaten, like gay marriage or, you know, people of different colors and da-da-da-da-da, you know, all that stuff. And I started to think about how privilege and entitlement makes people think they're supposed to have what they always had. You know, like, I'm supposed to have that job. And it puts food on my table, gosh darn it. And I'm the head of that table. And I'm an okay person because I go to, you know, my world is just neat and tidy and I'm in charge. And I know it's going to happen from day to day. And these other things that threaten my sensibility, it's not, you know, it's not okay. And I started to think about, like, you know, I know that we have to, you know, my big challenge is empathy for this stuff that just, like, I go, oof, you know, I just want to go, you know, it's like, what makes you think losing your job is like the first time that's ever happened to anybody on the planet? You know, like, what about the people all over the world that have suffered blights and this and that and the next thing? And now we have information. We have information. It might not be in your home, but maybe it's in a local library. And what keeps a person from going and finding out, global warming is a real thing, and maybe my industry that I was doing, my job, isn't so good for everybody else or for the planet. Maybe it was good for my family, but maybe it's not good for the air. Maybe it's not good for the water, you know. It works for me now, but what about the bigger picture? And so I'm feeling a little less in my white, my white liberal privilege guilt. And I feel like I just want to say, no, you're not entitled to the same old, same old. You're not entitled to be the boss of the table and the boss of your family and the boss, and you feel like you get a pat on the back at church and you're doing okay. No, the world's much bigger than that. And this might seem like I might think back on this moment I'm saying these things and go, ooh, you know, like, wow, that was my stage of this process. And I said it to all these people in this room, but we don't have a dime for privilege and entitlements. This planet doesn't. And what's disturbing about this is that I don't want this planet. My biggest concern is the planet. And I think the water protectors are the key to everything right now. They're the saving grace, I think, of so much. The people that are the closest to nature and that have always been the closest to nature are leading that way. And it's just not okay that that's not being noticed by everybody, and particularly people that are on farms and growing things. You know, like, yeah, it's not just your little plot of land, it's like, where's the rain gonna come from? Where's the, think beyond your little world that you've been in charge of for so long. And I don't want to have this kind of animosity towards it. I know that our heart, we have to, the beautiful work that Lila and the people, that indigenous peoples, of forgiveness, I mean, that's where I want to arrive at soon. And I've been listening to podcasts of like the elders in the civil rights movement. They have such heart, the John Lewis's and the people that have been on the bridge, I mean, the heart is still so open, and here we are again, and their heart can remain open. And that's where I'm at most of the time, but I'm telling you, I'm just so, I'm not gonna, there's something about the whole guilt, the liberal guilt, that I think we have to be careful of too. That we have to just say, hey, rise up a little bit beyond your own entitled world. And so, that's what I have to say right now.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Lynn.
So, I'd like to start off with a couple of tangents that are totally relevant to what you just said and what Lydia said about change. The first one is to just say in the Buddhist way, anicca, anicca, anicca. What that means is that after centuries of inward inquiry, the only truth that the Buddhist field of knowledge could come to is that everything changes. Anicca means change. Okay? That's the only truth they were able to isolate. And then the second little bit, in terms of our emotional nature, we know that when we stay stuck and sort of overly locked into the adrenergic adrenaline side of our nervous system, it motivates a lot of energy, but it tends to constrict our vision and get us to focus on problems. It's a very problem-oriented mode. Fear is a very problem-oriented mode. Complaining and blaming endlessly, which we've talked about in Noectics. The other side of the emotional nervous system, which is what we started with, Betsy, and you added to, Mike, was let's take some time to ground ourselves and relax and just be present with our emotional nature, because when we do that, we shift into our parasympathetic cholinergic side and we actually start to get solution-oriented, right? And I feel that part of what many people have been saying is that it's time for us to get solution-oriented in a much bigger way. And then another little dimension I'd like to add is I just had the good fortune 2 days ago to tune into one of my ancient aliens, which was focusing on the founding fathers. And it blew me away just how beautiful they actually were and what they framed for us. It was much bigger than this either or, either so-called liberal or so-called conservative. And part of what we are discovering within the context of the study of consciousness, which Noectics is all about, and which many of us had glimpses of, is the ideas of non-separation, of oneness, of both and or encompassing kind of lovingness, because lovingness is the other part of higher consciousness, which we've pointed to so many times. Like coming to a place where you understand the greater solution capability comes when we're grounded in relaxed lovingness with each other, when we're in real interactive community, right? Community, community. So, and this is what, you know, the magic of what we're doing here in this dialoguing is attempting to come into, you know, a place of communicating from oneness. And so going back to the founding fathers, here's what blew me away. Not only did they frame the way that the capital, the way that DC was formed based on sacred geometry, with a star in the center and many sublocation stars, but they aligned the Capitol building with the White House and then the obelisk. How many of you ever really brought the significance of putting the tallest obelisk ever in the world? And you know where obelisks come from? The Egyptian framework. That's where obelisks were first. And guess where the obelisk in Washington points to? The Pleiades. The same place that the Great Pyramid points to. Okay? So, you know, part of what became really apparent to me as I listened to this is, oh my God, the core people who founded our Constitution were in higher consciousness. They understood what it means to be within a greater than self space. They saw what it was to be in wholeness, you know, to be connected in wholeness. And they founded us based on that pointing to. Okay? So, given all my passion and excitement about this, what I find in terms of your question is that because I've been practicing meditation and deep relaxation for eons now, my being is totally solution-oriented. I'm tired of problems. What I want is for us to get grounded enough to envision, to see forward, to see deeper into the vision that our founding fathers set for us. And not only did they set it for us, part of this video on Ancient Aliens pointed out, they actually set it as a model for the whole world, okay? They set this seeing deeper. And the last thing I'd like to comment a little bit about is that the way that evolution seems to proceed, it's never a straight line, so-called progressively forward. It progresses, it regresses. It regroups and progresses and regresses. And it does this by a process of thesis, antithesis, synthesis, thesis, antithesis, synthesis. And part of what I really find exciting about being a part of this Noectic's widening global circle is that it's up to us as people who have grokked non-separation, who have grokked oneness, who have grokked and totally felt complete, passionate lovingness for life to formulate our way forward. This is our task. For us to keep visioning, inciting, seeing our way forward. And part of that seeing, I'm sorry to say to many of you, I believe is going to involve us dropping, again in another Buddhist concept, all our attachments to either being liberal or conservative. It's time to get past both of those. There you go.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you, Trish, for joining us. Thank you. Go on. Thank you. That's good. Very good.
I'm probably, this is scary, the only person here that knew Trump was going to win and was supporting that.
I'm not political. That's not where I'm coming from at all. I have been listening to angels for a long time in very ways that I see, you know, to figure a lot of things out. And I was shown that this was going to happen. And I felt really good about it. But I think it's for things that, you know, it's like we can see certain things happening, and then there's so much more unseen that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I saw the haters. Which we all do that all the time, all of us. It's just something to look at. But I felt like we have a choice. When somebody has a lot of positive energy being poured toward them for the greater good of, you know, all of us in the United States, then they can become much greater than they are in the moment. And to move into those kind of shoes and the whole thing is something totally different. But when you give a lot of love and support in a much higher way, for them to become the best that they can be, like we would like to do for all in each other, then people can really, really go so much further. And I know that this is a very deep contemplation taking place as someone goes into that type of role and feeling all the opposition and the support. And I think if it's our country moving away from all the lower levels of emotions into higher levels of emotions, which is the only way we're going to be any better. That's the only way you have any truth, is when you're speaking from above neutral. And I feel like that's where we can all, it's like your energy, my energy creates the situation, creates the world we live in. And I feel like, you know, a few of you said that on how you felt excited, and I feel like that's where we can make the greatest change, where we want change in politics, by sending that kind of positive energy and what we'd like to envision, you know, things you'd like to envision. And what was said about in people being, what's the word used to, people want to feel included, yeah. And when you said that, because I'm a bit of a recluse, and so I know my need for included. I have to go to town once a month. Because I get a little strange when I do. It's really not funny when it happens. But I had a friend who has tried to commit suicide quite a few times, in her 80s, so much pain, so much everything. And she's totally a recluse, shut in or whatever. And I went to call her over the holiday, and the phone was disconnected, and I thought, oh God, she did it again, this time at work, because she's tried like 7 times, and somebody always rescues her. And then I called back, and she answered. I thought for 3 days she was dead, and then she answered, and she was all happy. And she's usually not happy at all. And I was like, wow, she had these services. The last time she tried to commit suicide, they brought her all these people to bring in a meal, to bring in Thanksgiving, and to help her go to the store, little things. So twice a week, people come to see her. And now she's totally happy because she's included. She had no one. And I was like,
I mean, this is a 180. So I think it's, you know, like, even if you feel like you lost and now things aren't going to be the way you wanted them to be, they still can be. I think we're the ones in charge energetically, if we really put our hearts to it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I was gonna just pass the stick on because I'm just listening to all this insight. I said I was gonna pass the stick on because I didn't wanna speak, because I'm busy listening to all this brilliance. I feel a lot of gratitude about being in Taos while all this is happening and being in the dialogue. And so I was thinking of what I might say, and I have to, Michael and Glenn, you know, allow me to share a moment that was very special for me. After the election and after I felt this kind of trauma and all this, all these things that I was busy getting in touch with within myself, Mike and I were driving down to Santa Fe and just saying, hey, we're just gonna have a good time and go and do what we need to do and have it be a normal day. And Glenn called and I felt his, I just felt, hey, Glenn's in the same place as I am. And what I was just talking to Michael about it, I said, you know, I'm in this place where I wanna be I know that there's a lot of changes going on. I wanna inject humor into this process because I think I need to lighten up. So I said, Glenn, I talked to my friends in France, and they said my friends in France live in the European Council area, so the Brits, there's a big Brit community there, and they said what's going around is that the Brits are saying that you know, when they made that decision to leave the Union, the Brits they said, we're no longer the dumbest country. And it was just so great to, you know, go from shifting him and me and all of us in this place. So anyway, so I agree with a lot of what everybody's saying here about, it's just, I really mean that the insight and where everybody's coming from, and this, I'm listening, I'm learning a lot. But I'm still lightening up around all this stuff, so I hope.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josie. Well, the joke's on us. I too had a glimpse that Trump was going to win because I started reading what the odds people are, you know, gamblers. And of course they're betting on Hillary, but they also talked about this gentleman, I forgot his name, there's a couple of them, who gave the 4 main reasons why Trump was going to win. And they all made sense. And to me, in my rational mind, I said, there's a big chance he's going to win. That's going to be really something. Then I had recalled, we also have a little rural place in Arizona, which is pretty red most of the time. And our neighbor's very rural, and I kind of thought about rural people because, you know, I was raised originally in Houston, and then we've been in San Francisco for 30 years, and then here, I love it here. And rural, I love rural. But I can see they don't see everybody, that people have needs, there's all kinds of people, black, whites, everything. They just kind of are in their own little world, and they see it as they see it. And we had them for dinner sometimes. They had us for dinner this time, and that was not before the female comments. This was before when he made the comment Trump did. Over in New York City, on Fifth Avenue or the park, wherever he said, and I shot somebody, I wouldn't lose any supporters.
And I said, I mentioned that to Mike. I said, Mike and Dawn, I said, you're voting for Trump, but how could all these people vote for him when he said that? He'll shoot somebody? And they said, yes, we're voting for him. And a little comes up, they just really dislike what's going on in the government. They really, really dislike Hillary, and I didn't sort of, why so much? I mean, what has she done? And of course they can tell you. But, so we kind of, because at that point we were pulling still, I guess it was the primaries, I guess we told them we're really for Bernie. So softened it a little bit, we're gonna vote for Hillary. So later he went out of town and he's a chairman of some roads and California job, but Dawn was still there and we didn't really talk about it much except about Hillary. She knew her in Arkansas and all this stuff. I thought, oh my gosh, I'll just let it be. You don't really talk to somebody who's so, with the idea of changing their mind. You just accept what they're saying and say, wow, they're fixed. I mean, that's just how they see it. And so you accept that as a loving thing, I guess, for me. And even before all this happened, I looked at the politics, which I, in the past, hadn't been so involved. But this time I got hooked listening to the debates. It was, almost like Breaking Bad or the other, Downton Abbey. You just couldn't stop. So I listened to the debates. And I thought, oh my gosh, the language, can you believe we're coming that low? He's running for president? I cannot believe it. But also I looked at it knowing that this is a world of duality, and it should be. It's exactly how it should be. It's going to get so bad, right and wrong, that we're going to have a breakdown. That's just what I said. Because I believe in non-duality. I'm a non-dualist, most of you know what that is. I believe we're all one. And this world is basically a big joke because we are all one, but we're acting out the two sides, fear and love, fear and love, fear and love. And we all, of course, want love. And I thought, well, him or Hillary is better than nothing. Surely better than Trump, a lot better. So let's just go with that rather than look at the real problem. And the real problem I got, what was revealed to me was, because I would read, after the New York Times, I'd read all the comments everybody said after Paul Krugman talked and some of them talked, and I thought, we really don't know one another. That's what I got. That was what was revealed to me. And the other thing is, for what I said at the beginning, it's separation personified. I mean, it's gotten so bad, right and wrong. Republican, Democrat, they're so opposite. How do you begin the conversation? How do you change their minds? You don't. You don't. It just is what it is. And as we go to a higher level from our own consciousness and seeing with our God eyes, which I call the miracle eyes, and you see it all as the truth. The truth is we're all one. I'm one. We're all love. And everybody's just playing out their dream, their story, trying to figure it all out. And after the election, Trump won. I called Dawn. I said, congratulations. I'm disappointed, very disappointed, but you won. Congratulations. And she says, I really appreciate you calling me. She says, but now let's just see what happens. I think she had heard enough, because during the time that we were in Arizona, our little place there, Dave says, she heard that tape about him grabbing women. Surely she's not going to vote for Trump. We didn't ask her because I didn't want to start that conversation. She's our neighbor. She had to watch us our place when we're gone. And I think, you don't want to get people all upset not liking you. I mean, what does that help, being one or loving people? It doesn't help to get an argument. So you listen. And I love this listening. I love the group. But when I did a dialogue consortium way back in Silicon Valley, it's just not listening. They added, you have to be profoundly open to the other person. That means from your heart, as you listen. That means you get out of your fixed ideas, and that's hard. But that's basically what we need to do, is dialogue, and our government needs to do. I was thinking about I should write a letter, and they should have a dialogue consortium from New York come in and teach them how to dialogue. You know, the Republicans and the Democrats. Be profound, I mean, one of them says something, be profoundly open, but they're so fixed, they're so into, you know, where they are, their consciousness level is not where we are, obviously, a lot of them. So, amen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for those good thoughts.
One thing about being this far along is most of the thoughts have been that I've had already out there. So my little take on it is that I have a really diverse background in the sense that I've been in all the states. I was essentially a draft dodger. I lived in Canada, but I also went to Vietnam afterward. I was a Pentecostal Christian in the Appalachians, almost handling snakes, and I ran for the Krishna temple in Denver. Live in Taos, that's another one. So I've seen a lot of paradigms, been in a lot of paradigms, and the common denominator is that most everyone that I know of in every situation, most of them, not all, have good intentions. They all have a concept, what's common sense, what is right, what is wrong, what's real, what's not real. And to try to unify us all under a single leader like Hillary or Trump or Bernie doesn't really work. Yeah. So I just advocate more and more that we go to states' rights. That's an attempt toward individualizing. And the federal government, Washington, I think it should take a very diminished role as much as it could, where it really doesn't try to speak for the people. It's just there for helping us with national security and not getting our nose in other people's business. But if New Mexicans want a certain way of doing things, they should have them. We voted. We have democracy within our state. We're not going to be the same as Washington. We're not going to be the same as Texas, right over the line. So I don't see that what's happening right now is, it is inevitable that we always have these diversities. And I would love to see us just go more toward every state choosing its own path and having its own health care, its own way of dealing with jobs, education, laws and moralities of it, because otherwise we're always going to have this conversation. And so there's my take.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody for allowing us to come. This is our first time here. And I've been very impressed by all the comments that I've heard. Unfortunately, my husband and I have to leave, but quickly I just want to say that fear was, I've been apolitical most of my life. I've been an unaffiliated voter for 43 years until this election. And in this election, I think more than political reasons, was what I thought was a moral reason of becoming more involved than emotionally. And that is because I felt that human beings were being disrespected. And to me, that's one of the worst things to have happened. But it happened, and it's happened. I think the comment that someone, the initial speaker said was the fear of things. And I think the fear of change is the greatest thing that we have to face. And respect both our fear and the opposing people's fears. The fears of globalization, the fears of multiculturalism, how my fear is that having accepted the fears of opposing voters, let's say, what is my role in eliminating or accepting the change that's going to occur and or that is occurring, and how do I humanize those fears is the challenge for me, and what's my role in accepting other people's views.
Thank you.
And reveal the next level. And as I've gone down through my traumas and my pains and my mind control and all the things I've been living through, without exception, and this is after 34 years of testing this out very consciously, I always end, the end of the string is essence, is me, the source of my own being, soul consciousness, whatever you want to call it. That from there, all is indeed well, because it's totally inclusive of all life. It is the unconditional. Whether you call it love, you want to call it truth, call it God, source, that's who I really am. Anytime I've ever followed my string through, it always comes to that consciousness, that identity, that I am all that is. And that's what oneness means to me. Anyway, if I'm the one at that level, then I include all life. And all at that level is what it is supposed to be. And depending on where I collapse my bubble, I get different ways of reacting and feeling and interpreting. Now I can take it right down into duality, I can take it right down into right, wrong if I want to. I can feel that, that's all in me. I can make judgments. But I like what I feel when I open up and include and transcend those, or transform those. To be able to embrace what's going on and not be, what do I call it, outside of it? Not be, oh, I'm from this distance and I'm looking down upon the masses, man, and I don't feel. No, it's about being right in the mix and walking from this place of awareness, of inclusivity. And then how do I interact? How do I speak? How do I respond? What happens? And does it mean I'm always happy about it all? Absolutely not. One of the things about being inclusive is that I also have aspects that are still in pain and still wounded and still act out and strike out. And the beauty of what I have learned is that I can embrace that too. And I can go ahead and be fucking angry. And that is not, and there's no voice in there going, oh, you shouldn't do that, that's not spiritual. I don't have those voices in there. I can embrace and have no fear that whatever comes through me or around me, I know the source of it. I know where it's coming from within. And it's not a concept. It's a living presence that I'm aware of all the time. But it's not what I used to think it was supposed to be, because its concept is very different than the truth. It may be true, but it's not the truth. So in the context of the question, what I see happening here, and many of you have spoken to it, is that we have lived in a legislated world. Most of our ways of culture in this country are based on laws, not on people's consciousness, not on their maturity or their level of operation. Like, when you know this, like when you're coming from my heart, I don't need no fucking law to tell me how to behave, to not be racist or not be, against this or against that. Our internal heart, our kindness, we know how to treat each other well. You don't need a law to regulate behavior. That's part of the control system, one of many levels of it. So here you see, you lift the veil, you open Pandora's box, and all that stuff that's been legislated down into the subconscious, the shadow is emerging, is purging. You know, love brings up everything unlike itself in order to be healed. Definitely a truth in my life. So I see that as part of the veil being lifted, is that the darkness, the unconscious, the woundedness, the pain must be brought into community for real. Not because it's legislated, but because we're ready to say, what are we going to do about this? What am I feeling here? How do I go past this? This hurts too much. To continue believing in this dichotomy or this duality or this oppositional way of looking at things. And, you know, and I don't know if you've noticed it, but one way of motivation is that when the pain is too much to sustain where you're coming from, you gotta let go. You just do. That is one motivation. It is one way to grow. Like I once heard, and I love this, it said, change is a constant, it's a given, but growth, that's optional.
Thank you.
So, I just want to say that. Yeah, that's good enough for me.
Well, I've really appreciated all your sharings, and I find it very inspiring. What I would just say about the unveiling, for me, what was surprising was to realize how many people in our country don't feel that they have been listened to. And I think we're also finding out that the media has also not been listening to various aspects of our country. And I think for me, when I realized the surprising results of the election, it just seemed like something was being really an upheaval, as you said, upheaval not only for the states but for the whole world. So we will just see how it turns out. I think it's a mystery. We don't really know, or I don't feel like I know where things are going. But I do feel that groups like this are going to be very healing and can help us all to be more open.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've always been puzzled by how it's going to end, because all these things are going up. You know, like RG was talking about it. But also just the simple fact that we are supposed to consume more. If the economy is going to grow, we're supposed to consume more. So that has to somehow hit a block, because we all can only consume so much, and then it stops, and then do something else. So it has to stop somewhere, and then one view would be, well, there has to be some kind of a revolution, because people are not willingly going to leave that. Or some other disaster, like this one. Like you need some kind of a disaster to change it. And even to change it from, like it's very nice to talk about the founding fathers, that they were highly spiritual, but all this has become kind of a Bible for the United States to live by and make all kind of laws about and be very lawyery about it, not really coming from consciousness. So there has to be kind of a change in attitude, because you were asking what is it doing for the nation, right? How is the nation going to change? And maybe one of the things that has to change is believing that we have the best, I shouldn't say we because I'm still Dutch, but we have the best system in the world. some doubt is being created around the world. Maybe all of us can, but maybe it's not the best system. Maybe we should also look outside, and maybe other people have also some good ideas that we could take over and use. So there's a lot of opportunities in this so-called disaster, you know, and we, like you said, we have to just wait and find out where it leads us. Thank you.
Well, I read in the New York Times today that Donald Trump, they had a picture of him eating Kentucky Fried Chicken and Burger King, and he eats like just middle America. And I'm going, here I'm eating my organic kale and my organic beets and quinoa. I just get the humor of all of this on a level that is so exquisite. I think the danger is if we don't take the opportunity, each one of us individually. In the last 3 weeks, I know I have been hit personally on an immune system level with everything you can imagine. And it seems like every 36 hours or 33, whatever number you like, okay? I've been asked to relax more, receive more blessings, and watch the alchemy take place. And it's just been an amazing honor to sit here and listen to each one of you and all your uniqueness. It just tickles me so much to feel and sense and listen to everyone everywhere taking the opportunity to express themselves now. It's like there's been this silent cry on the planet. And whatever this catalyst is that's happening is bringing us together in the most unlikely way. And it is great mystery. It's great mystery grounded. And how the immune system works is fascinating. I'm writing about it. It's immunity, I'm unity. And immunity, and I'm like going, oh, my white blood cells want to go, that's not me, this is me. It is a battleground in there for us to be healthy. And so I'm looking at this platform that we've been asked to participate in individually and globally as just the most fun. And I'm telling you, you can't imagine how many opportunities of obstacles have tried to grab me on an immune system level, on an emotional level, on a mental level. And I just go, you wake me up that many times a night, I'm just gonna sit in meditation. I'm gonna take the opportunity. I'm stubborn and impatient, just like my elders. I'm so impatient that I'm going to do my part and participate in the homework that is required to be able to receive. So I tell you, I was living in Oregon from 2012 until about 6 months ago. And in 2012, it was a drizzly, rainy, new moon night. And I went out and I said this prayer out loud, lift the veils. Like with every part of my being. What I got back was this word, Parry. I went in and I had a phone call from a rabbi. This is 9 o'clock at night. And Parry means veil. And if you ever looked at the map, it's the opposite tandem holding the tension of opposites of the abyss. So I'm just loving that this is all coming into fruition. And I'm taking every moment of opportunity to participate in the alchemy that we've all been requested and gifted with in these days, to feel and sense our way through. And I'm telling you, there are moments, it was like, you know, I woke up the other day and it was like, I was feeling my skull and I was going, these bones are out of place. And I've been teaching cranial sacral for 14 years, so I just did a tentorium pull and it popped back in like I thought an earthquake happened. And I hope it went residual vicariously throughout the whole global event, that kind of relief. That's my prayer. That's the greater scope, is that how I participate and how free I am on every single level and every single aspect of my life and my experience translates, is automatically translated simultaneously to anybody else who's also receiving that blessing. It's not mine, it's not yours, it's just the opportunity. So that's what's been going on these last 3 weeks. It's just everything that could possibly arise has arisen, and I'm just so amazed at the piercing quality of what we are all involved in. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Wow. That's very beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for all those good thoughts, good feelings. People are feeling a lot of things these days, and thank you, Joseph, for bringing up humor. That kind of reminded me of a humorous story that Leroy Little Bear told me. And you know, it seems like this election has brought a lot of people together that normally might not be together, but. Funny thing is, when Leroy Little Bear told that joke, I realized then it was a teaching joke. It was a little bit about how, you know, you can change your spots. You can change who you are. And that's what dialogue is all about. You know, you can listen, as was said beautifully here. You can listen deeply for the purpose of understanding another person. And there might be reason for you to change your view. You don't know that while you're listening. You just listen. And that's the beauty of it. And it may come to you that, hey, you know, that makes a lot of sense. First task is to actually understand where the other people are coming from. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Now, I had a lot more questions I was going to ask you guys, but I don't think I'm going to do that. Okay, because that's all right. You know, I think this particular group, this particular time, it's really important for everybody to have an opportunity to express themselves. So I really just wanted to put out a fairly straightforward question here for people to share, and I thank you for that. You know, there are some other issues with more time that we could address, you know, and we could go a little deeper, and perhaps in the spring we will, you know, if I come back, or if you continue dialogue circles, you know, because there's a lot more here. There's a lot more under the surface. One thing I just want to leave you with, perhaps, just something for you to dream about. The liberal ideology generally believes in progress, generally believes that human beings can make progress. And a conservative ideology also believes that there's progress, but they want it to go a little slower. They want it to go a little slower. So if you go back to like the discussions that Thomas Paine had with Edmund Burke, that's what Burke was about. He didn't want to rip up the fabric of society and make change too quickly. He agreed with change, and he actually was for the American Revolution. Thomas Paine thought he was a kindred brother. But it turned out when Thomas Paine went to Europe to start the French Revolution, or help foment the French Revolution, Burke wasn't with him. You know, he was not for that. And when Thomas Paine wanted to start a revolution in Britain, Burke wasn't with him. But something that's come up, you know, that came up around the circle was that, you know, I mean, this dualism between liberal and conservatives. Something we may be observing now is how time and how emotions can be very cyclic. I know a lot of people now that feel that this is a little like 1968. You know, Richard Nixon's just been elected on a law and order program, okay, you know. And there are people that are organizing, mobilizing, because they don't want this other agenda to happen. This group here is, seems to me, I'm very pleased to see that you're considering all of that, but you're also looking to go deeper. You're also looking to go deeper. And you're re-examining what you think yourselves and trying to understand what is this other part of the country that feels differently. See, this is an unusual place to do a dialogue on politics in a way, because it seems like there's a lot of homogeneity in Taos. I mean, it's, you know, it's pretty much Bernie Sanders country than it was for Hillary Clinton, between Clinton and Trump. But there's a wide, you know, the beauty of doing a dialogue circle here is we discovered that there's a wide diversity even within that view right here. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. I want to think, you know, if we had more time, I'd throw out a question, but we can't do it in the amount of linear time units we have here. So for something for you to dream on, just how do we reconcile linear progressive time and iterative cyclic time? Because I think if you dream on that, you may find the answer, or at least the seed of an answer, of how we reconcile liberal and conservative views. You may. But this time I just want to give my thanks. It's been a real pleasure and a joy to be with this group. For those that came 3 times, thank you very much. And for those that dropped in 1 or 2 times, thank you very much. It's been beautiful. As the moderator, I get to take it all in, so it's very, very beautiful. And I wanted to offer a closing prayer, and then and with that, send you on with some beautiful dreams, I hope. Thank you for this bowl, Mike. Very useful. Ah, beloved Creator, thank you for this day. Thank you for this blessing of being alive. Thank you for this blessing of coming together in dialogue. Thank you for the blessing of listening to Spirit. Thank you for the Spirit that flows through each and every individual here. Thank you for their beautiful vibration. Thank you for the way they vibrate. the way they receive, the way they share, the way they give love and caring for other people. Thank you for that camaraderie. Thank you for that great blessing. Thank you for the understanding that we're connected to all there is. Thank you for the understanding that our thought is like lightning. It's an ignition that comes from above. Thank you for all that light. Thank you for the starlight. Thank you for the sunlight. Thank you for the light in our solar plexus that connects us to that galaxy of being. Thank you for that. Thank you for being connected through all the other water beings. We are water, like the surface of the planet is 70% water. Thank you for that. Thank you for that blessing. Thank you. Thank you for that living, loving water, the water that's in our heart, that connects us to the heart of other beings, that connects us to the heart of nature, that allows us to feel a rhythm, to feel a pulse, to move with that. Thank you for teaching us to remember that. Thank you for that very, very special blessing. Thank you for the trees that give out the breath of life, that we give back to them in a sacred circle. Thank you for that breathing aware air, the prana, the pneuma, the ruach. Thank you for that air that connects us to all things. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Pachamama, Mother Earth, that we're born from, that we return to, that we're blessed with, that we receive ever-present regeneration. Thank you, Pachamama, Mother Earth. Thank you for all the critters on the earth. Thank you for the earthworm. Thank you for the earthworm that's so much water. Thank you for the earthworm that has no eyes but can see, and has no ears but it can hear the vibration of Mother Earth. It can feel what's happened. If there's a war, it can feel the blood going into the soil. The earthworm knows. The earthworm's connected through water to a lot of memory. Thank you for all that memory in the soil. Thank you for the bacteria. Thank you for the fungi. Thank you for their network of interconnection. Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you for that beautiful interconnection. Thank you. And remember that that's how our brains are. We're interconnected too. That's how our hearts are. We're interconnected too. Thank you for that. We can feel it too. We can feel that. Thank you for all the beings on the earth. Thank you for the birds, the soaring birds of prey, the eagles and hawks, their vision that looks over us. Thank you for that. And thank you for the little birds, the finches and jays that sing to us in the morning. Thank you for that. Thank you for the finned ones in the waters. May their waters be clean again. May people understand that water is life. May we come together at this time with this opportunity to understand this blessing, to offer it to the world, and to come together in solidarity and community. For the most important thing, that water, the elements are alive. Thank you, thank you, thank you for that opportunity. Thank you for the opportunity to remember who we are as human beings. Thank you for that. Thank you for all the critters. Thank you for the bear that goes in the winter to find the deepest place. And may we all go to that deep place and find our inner center. Come back out in the world. Share it with everyone. Be the brightest light we can be. Be the future we imagine. Be as beautiful as we all are. Thank you so much. Thank you for the blessing of these dialogue circles. Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you, Creator, for the privilege of Glenn, of having you in our midst, and for the privilege of keeping this circle. Thank you so much.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you.